Hello, fellow software engineer. I'm Dr. Derek Austin, and this is Career Programming, where I give you programming career advice based on my 20-year career as a full-stack SWE. The only way I know to win your career as a software engineer. Exit the status games everyone else is playing. Start playing wealth games. There's nothing wrong with a software engineer who wants to get a big job at a famous company, a big promotion, or a big salary. They'll just never win their software career. After all, there's always a more famous company, right? Or an even better title, or an even higher salary. While billionaires are overwhelmingly lucky idiots, I'm sure none of them got there by competing for better software engineering job titles. The vast majority of people are playing status games, which are zero-sum. There's a winner and there's a loser. Haven't you heard most people are dumb enough they'd prefer to make $50,000 when their colleagues are making $25,000 instead of making $100,000 when their colleagues are making $200,000? Yes, that was an actual study. Software engineers are people too. People who are told by society that jealousy, status, is how you should lead your career. Billionaires, as dumb and lucky as they are, often still play status games. Just look at the shape of Bezos' rocket to space. It's phallic. The way billionaires got to being billionaire status wasn't a status game. How they got there was an infinite game, the opposite of zero-sum thinking. It was a wealth game, and wealth is an infinitely renewable resource. Importantly, they weren't playing a money game, as that would just be another status game. They didn't care about salary or even bank balances. They focused on creating wealth, defined as any income-producing assets that earned for you whether you work or not. Then, they got status for free as a byproduct of playing the wealth game. Sure, they're mostly still competing for status, since billionaires are apes too. Apes with super yachts and extreme wealth inequality, right? Software engineers aren't likely to become billionaires, but there is a way of exiting the rat race and winning your programming career. Here's how billionaires did it and how you can too. The most accessible option: save money and fire. The least popular billionaire option would be financial independence / retire early, aka FIRE, the movement popularized by Mr. Money Mustache and others. If you're not familiar with FIRE, the idea is to take 25 to 90% of your take-home pay and invest it in wealth. Investments, not cash savings. Typically, those investments would be in broad market stock indices along with funds for e.g. bonds, gold, or UPRO. I'm long the ETF UPRO. Did you know I'm required by law / FCC guidelines to say that, since I said UPRO just now? Please excuse the brief tangent. If you're interested, here's my entire long, i.e. buy and hold, portfolio of ETFs, meaning stock-like investment funds, an acronym for exchange-traded funds, since people always ask. 10% UGL. UGL is a 2x leveraged gold ETF. 30% TYA. TYA is a 3x leveraged bonds fund. 20% SCHD. SCHD is a 1x high dividend stock fund. 20% Flow. Flow is a 1x high free cash flow stock fund. 10% UPRO. UPRO is a 3x leveraged US growth stock fund. I should note, leverage significantly increases investment risk and is generally frowned upon by the FIRE community and by the bogleheads. Anyway, FIRE is mostly about retiring early, exiting the rat race, and is thus a wealth game, one played by saving your salary from full-time work. The returns will be limited by the amount you can actually save, even with a high income. A 50% savings rate, a roughly 15-year FIRE target, is tough. That said, it's easier by far for most people to just start living like poor people and save 75 to 90% of their take-home pay than to actually achieve either of the next options. Yes, the next two options are even slower and more arduous, but they have far more upside potential. Let's start with owning a business. The classic option: start a business and sell it. Pretty much all the billionaires you've ever heard of got rich by owning a business that became valued extremely highly by other investors. Bezos obviously did that with Amazon, right? To put it another way, their billions were created out of thin air because suddenly their previously worth little stock is now worth a ton. That's why I referred to wealth games as being infinite games earlier. Wealth is an infinitely renewable resource. A salary job is not an infinitely renewable resource. They lay you off, fire you, or force you to quit anyway, at least sometimes. Owning a business is a leveraged investment where the leverage comes either from exploiting labor capital, as salaries don't make billionaires, or applying financial capital, meaning actual money and fake money leverage. Most billionaires smartly diversify their wealth, though some, like Bezos and Zuckerberg, seem to prefer the status of being the one in charge. I'll save you the trouble of reading The Millionaire Next Door. Most everyday next door millionaires started or purchased businesses. I'm sure you're familiar with the trope of a software engineer who wants to one day found their own tech startup. Everyone feels like they have a great idea for an app too, so why not? Many people work as senior software engineers for a decade or two on what you might otherwise call a fire track, except they don't retire. Instead, they build wealth by investing in themselves through starting a business, often supplemented, meaning leveraged, by venture capital, or VC. Of course, dear reader, I'm not suggesting you're a grifter, that roughly accurate stereotype of many in the billionaire class. I would never call a startup founder a grifter if they are a startup entrepreneur who raises tons of VC money in Series D, Series E, and or gets a huge payday from a stock IPO. There are tons of legit startup founders who aren't grifters, sure, but grifters have found a way of collecting personal paydays in these 7, 8, and sometimes even 9 figures. Do that enough times, investing in early stage winners, see Uber investors, or starting your own meme aerospace companies, see Musk and SpaceX, and you're likely to be well on your way to being a billionaire. But trying to hit that billionaire would be a status game, and that's not what I'm recommending to you. Instead, consider starting the company and being a founder for the company you've always dreamed about, preferably after saving 25 to 90% of your take-home pay for 5 to 15 plus years. The creator option, make stuff online and sell it. Code and digital creations have a special wealth creating property in that the marginal cost of replication is 0, or close enough to round to 0. Since that's a mouthful, I'll explain what it means with an example. When I sell you a copy of my book through KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing on Amazon, you pay $9.99 for the paperback, but I get $2.17. When I sell you a copy of my Kindle book, you pay $2.99, but I get $1.95. Here's how the royalty system works, which will explain exactly why making stuff online is a wealth game. For the paperback, printing costs $3.82, so Amazon subtracts that from the sales price of $9.99, leaving $6.17. Then they pay me a 60% royalty on that amount, meaning my royalty is $2.17. For the Kindle ebook, Amazon subtracts a 21-cent digital delivery fee, leaving $2.78. Then they pay me a 70% royalty, meaning $1.95. I actually get $2 to $3 if you read the whole thing on Kindle Unlimited, so now you know why we authors love Kindle Unlimited. I love it as a reader too. You paid $7 less for the digital book than for the paperback, but I made the same either way. That's what a 0 marginal cost of replication means. Digital goods have a marginal cost, the cost of producing and selling each good, near 0. Like digital IP, intellectual property, code has a 0 marginal cost of replication. That's why that Stardew Valley guy is so rich now. The only problem with the creator option is that it's hard and it requires a lot of hours, making it not compatible with a full-time job. That's why a lot of people who work full-time would secretly love to be creating their own business or running their own business, but fire instead. Great products fail all the time, too, so trying to live off being a full-time creator is inherently super risky until all of a sudden you make it. This is the path I'm on myself, and I find it far less stressful and more entertaining than when I was trying to do either of the other options. Wrapping up, wealth, not status, will win you time. Wealth isn't valuable in itself, but wealth, value-producing long-term investments that grow through compound interest, is far more valuable than money, whether in the bank or coming in the next paycheck. Wealth is valuable for what it buys you, time. With time, you can live your life exactly how you want, instead of having to trade your time, life, to others for a wage. As Bruce Lee said, if you love life, don't waste time, for time is what life is made up of. Don't waste your life playing status games. Chasing money is a zero-sum game, like sports. To win a sport, there has to be a loser. Wealth isn't like that. I can be wealthy and you can be wealthy too. They're not fundamentally incompatible like status games. We can't all have the best job titles, most prestige, highest salaries, and greatest accomplishments. By definition, there's only one GOAT, greatest of all time, to mention one of the most popular sports commentary topics of all time. There can be an infinite number of wealthy people who choose to work instead of having to at least one day. Wealth is an infinitely renewable resource. On the other hand, it will never be possible for there to be an infinite number of GOATs. Play wealth games and ignore the status games everyone else is playing. That was the only way I know to win your career as a software engineer. Was this video useful or trash? As always, I'm just one guy with 20 years of experience, so please tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. I appreciate it, and tell me, which SWE career topic should I cover next? Let me know in the comments. Hit like if you learned something, and subscribe to level up your career. I'm Dr. Derek Austin. Bye, fellow software engineer. Thanks for watching.